The Assembly will hear an address by His Excellency Kashim Shettima, Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I request protocol to escort His Excellency and invite him to address the Assembly.
Mr. President, Your Excellencies, heads of delegation, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Mr. President, as you assume the leadership of this august assembly, our world is confronted by profound moral questions that will require more than the habitual remarks from this elevated podium to resolve. These are questions about the ultimate purpose of our organization, the United Nations itself, and how it can remain relevant and resilient. It is with this sentiment that I convey to you the warm and fraternal greetings of my countrymen and women, and to congratulate you on your assumption of the presidency of this assembly. Let me assure you of the full cooperation of my delegation in discharging your honorary responsibilities during your tenure. In the same vein, I wish to extend my appreciation to your predecessor, His Excellency Dennis Francis, for the many remarkable achievements recorded during his stewardship. It gives me particular pleasure to commend His Excellency Antonio Guterres, the Secretary General of the United Nations.
Hello. Tomorrow, presidents, prime ministers, and leaders from scores of countries will converge in New York City for the 80th edition of the United Nations General Assembly. Earlier today, ahead of the gathering, the leaders of Australia, Canada, and the United Kingdom announced their formal recognition of Palestinian statehood. They now join more than 150 nations that have already recognized the right of Palestinians to establish their own state. France is also expected to make a similar announcement during the General Assembly. This move by close US allies intensifies pressure on Israel amid the ongoing war and humanitarian crisis in Gaza. It also places these Western countries at odds with the United States, where President Trump continues to provide Israel with diplomatic cover and financial support. Even as much of the world condemns Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's military campaigns across the Middle East since Hamas's October 7th attack. Meanwhile, Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu has announced that he will not attend this year's General Assembly in New York. Instead, Vice President Kashim Shettima will lead Nigerian delegation. This marks the second consecutive year that President Tinubu has chosen to skip Onga. His absence means most high-level bilateral talks with other heads of state are unlikely to take place. Diplomats warn that repeated presidential absences risk diminishing Nigeria's influence on the global stage, especially at international gatherings like the United Nations, despite the country's standing as the world's most populous Black nation. It is 8:30 p.m. in Nairobi, Kenya, 6:30 p.m. in Lagos, Nigeria, and 1:30 p.m. in New York City. Wherever in the world you are joining us from, welcome to another episode of 90 Minutes Africa. My name is Rudolph Okonkwo. My co-host, Chido Onoma, is on assignment. Back home in Nigeria, President Tinubu faces mounting criticism from the opposition. Still, he presses ahead, signing multi-billion-dollar infrastructure contracts, securing new loans, and preparing to impose billions of dollars in additional taxes on Nigerians starting next year. But the real question is, how should these resources be deployed? And what role should ordinary Nigerians play in shaping their use? For the remaining 2 years of his first term, what practical steps can President Tinubu take to improve the lives and lay stronger foundations for Nigeria's future? Joining us to examine these urgent questions is Dr. Olarinre Salako. Dr. Salako is the Chief Technology Officer at Emakemtos USA Incorporated, where he leads energy, data, AI consulting, and advisory. He holds a Ph.D. from Heriot-Watt University with advanced training in data science from Columbia University. With more than 2 decades of expertise spanning geophysics, geoscience, artificial intelligence, sustainable and global energy transition, he has published extensively on carbon capture, enhanced oil recovery, and renewable technologies, and holds several US patents. From his base in Houston, Texas, Dr. Salako advises on high-impact projects across the US and Africa, with a strong focus on technology transfer, climate resilience, and building just sustainable energy futures for Nigeria and the wider continent. Please join us in welcoming to the show Dr. Olarinre Salako. Dr. Salako, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rudolph Okonko. Dr. Damages. It's my pleasure to be with you.
Yeah, we're glad to have someone like you, an intellectual with patent rights. I've been dreaming about owning patent rights. I don't know how to begin, Does it ever expire?
Well, it doesn't.
It doesn't. Wow.
It's part of intellectual property you own for the company you work for. Most often than not, the company you work for paid for it because you are using the time to innovate for them. Most of the patent I got it when I was consulting for Toyota.
Okay.
On vehicle electrification and safety.
Hmm.
And AI data analytics.
All right, we're going to get into that. But first of all, as we do on this show, we want to start with getting your views on things in the news. And the first thing we talked about in the news is what's happening in New York here, starting tomorrow, which is when world leaders will gather in New York to have their annual United Nations General Assembly. Ahead of that, we just had that UK, United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, they recognized as a state of Palestinian states. And tomorrow, or on Tuesday, when their president, when he speaks at the UN, he will recognize as a Palestinian state. So what do you make of that?
Well, let me start from the United Nations Assembly, General Assembly that our president is not attending. Honestly, it's not too good enough. Last year, he didn't attend as well. This year, he didn't attend. He's not going to attend. And since September 2023, he recalled all our ambassadors around the world. We don't have people talking on our behalf, in places that matters. So there is a saying in Africa, in Yoruba, that says, "Oh, Simbe, Onibawo na shekme." What that means is that you are not there and you are asking, how did they share things? So when you are not there, there is no way you can talk about how they are going to share it. So the president has traveled all around the world. He has traveled to Japan on bilateral investment drive. He has traveled to Brazil. He has traveled to several other places. But this United Nations Assembly, General Assembly, gives him opportunity, a one-stop shop opportunity to meet with all of these people at a time. In the sideline, bilateral talks. He will meet many of them together within a couple of days. But he lost that opportunity. The VP, in a place where several head of state are, the VP is not enough. He should be the one to come and talk more on what he has been talking to those people about. So I think it's not good enough for our image, especially when we don't even have ambassadors to follow up on what the president has been driving. Uh, Concerning the recognition of Palestinian state, you know, I like to say this. When you are fighting for just cause, you have to also be careful to do it moderately. We all are aware of October 7 massacre, attack by Hamas in Israel, and Israel has the right to defend herself. But when you are going beyond ordinary, that leads to almost like you wanting to wipe out entire Palestinian states. You will be losing sympathy from people. Recently they attacked Hamas leaders in Qatar without the permission of the Qataris government. President Trump in America was not even involved because the president said that was done by Netanyahu alone. So you will definitely lose the support of people who love you when you are doing things more than necessary. And I have heard Netanyahu also said that Israel is going to be alone for a long time in their fight. So maybe he's ready for that. And I've also seen that Brazil has joined South Africa in pressing for the case of genocidal case against Netanyahu. So let's see how all these things pans out as things unfold. It will be interesting to see what comes after that.
Now, I want to get your view, because when you take an opinion poll, we don't have any functioning one in Nigeria, but most Nigerians tend to support Israel, and let me say most Nigerians from the South anyway, they tend to support Israel, and they don't seem to see some of these concerns by countries now that we know, even Australia, United Kingdom, Canada, are beginning to feel that this is really over the top. Why do you think that is so? Why is it that most Nigerians kind of separate humanitarian crisis and what ordinary people, women and children, are suffering in Gaza from in their support for Israel?
Well, this issue is historical. You also have to bring religion into it. It's more of which side. Every side has their own reason for the decision they are taking. But I want to look at it more from the angle of somebody who doesn't have personal interest, or who wants to analyze things from the perspective of being objective. Israel and Palestinian, they are neighbors, they are brothers. Historically, they are brothers. So the problem is about land, it's about how settlement, religious right, historical right, all those things. But when you now talk about Nigerians, the Southern tend to support Israel because of their religious inclination as Christians. That in the Bible you have to look for the good of Israel, But in the North, they see Palestinians as fellow Muslims. But we have a lot of problem in our own house that we need to focus on than to put a lot of energy in what is happening in Israel, that doesn't have a clear, direct bearing on what we are facing at home. At home, we are facing issues with food security. We are facing issues with purchasing power being eroded away by policies of our government. We are facing insecurities all over the places, banditry, Boko Haram, and all the rest like that. So we should focus more on our own. But it's good to know what is going on around the world. Hopefully, at the end of the day, there will be peace in the Middle East. But more importantly, there will be peace in our country as well. We will be able to overcome the problem of banditry and Boko Haram at home.
Yeah, I like what you're saying, and we're going to get into the issues at home, but just a little bit on this Palestinian issue, because when this war started at the beginning, Pastor Adeboye sent out a tweet where he was praying for permanent victory of Israel over the enemies surrounding Israel. So you think this feeling of Nigerians is coming from religious, especially Nigerians from the South, from religious understanding? I'm not. I know you go to church every Sunday. Where did they read this? What is fueling this thinking that?
Well, Pastor Adeboye is a Christian. Is a pastor. That is his vocation. Okay. I'm a Christian, but I'm not a pastor. Okay. We Christians tend to have sympathy for Israel because of the fact that our Lord Jesus Christ, came from there. Okay.
But the Jews are not Christians.
Where you can say that
they don't even believe in
the Jews are Judaism.
They don't believe in Jesus the way
they don't believe. Yeah, they don't. But that does not take away the fact that Jesus Christ was from Israel, isn't it? So, and as a Christian, you are to look for the good of the Israel of Jerusalem. One senator in the United States, Senator, our Texas Senator, Ted Cruz.
Yeah.
Recently, he was having a kind of meeting like I'm having with you, with one American conservative journalist. I forgot the name now. And he mentioned that as Christian, we have to look for the interest of Israel. And the same thing you point across to me now, that journalist pointed it to him. But I don't want to go into all this religious matter, because even the Bible says that blessed are those, who seek peace, for they shall be called children of God. Okay, we should seek peace, no matter who is involved. So I believe that, like our president here in the United States is always looking for peace all around the world. I'm sure he's probably tired of the situation between Israel and Palestinians, and it's kind of even very, very telling that he just left UK maybe 2 days ago, and UK, recognized Palestinian state, So all the US ally in Europe are recognizing Palestinian state. That is telling something. So the US cannot be alone in supporting Israel against genocidal behavior, because they are actually performing genocidal behavior, in my view. So I support them in dealing with Hamas if they can. But unfortunately, too, Hamas, they hide under, vulnerable people. They hide themselves in hospitals. They hide themselves. So attacking Hamas is difficult for Israel army, Israel military, without having casualty. We have to also say that. So we have to be able to balance things. But I hope, United Nations, they are having General Assembly, unfortunately, that multilateral organization has not been able to do much in most of all these conflicts around the world. And sometimes I wonder what is it they do in that United Nations, really,
But you don't want that, because Fela said it. Fela said that at the UN, one vote is equal to 99. Because
veto power.
if all of them agree now that there should be a state of Israel, and America says no, it won't happen. So that's why it's not
The
functioning.
veto power.
Yeah.
The veto power. Yeah.
Mhm.
That's the problem. That's the problem. United States cannot be, I think with what is happening with Australia, Canada, UK, recognizing Palestinian state, I believe United States has to also come up with ingenious, more innovative way to really end the conflict. Otherwise, it will get to a point that United States may be challenged, of their veto power.
No, I don't think that will happen. But let's
You don't think that will happen?
I don't think that will happen.
Okay.
Because they won the Second World War, and that was one.
I know.
They gave that power to themselves. Nobody will take it away. Nobody will take it away. But let's go. You talked about the consequences of not having Nigeria's president here for the second consecutive year.
Mhm.
And the questions is raising. A lot of people in the diplomatic circle they pointed out that it's not good for the top black country in the world. But beyond that, we also read that most of the governors who were planning to come with him, ministers, are no longer coming because he is not coming. Which means Nigeria will miss opportunities, because it's not just about the meeting at the United Nations. There are so many side talks and meetings that happen as part of the United Nations that I'm sure they've been scheduled to attend. Just thinking about the cost of hotels that they booked, they are not going to be giving back their money, because if they were going to come, all these ministers and governors, and they are not coming anymore, these big hotels that charge a lot of money in New York City are not going to say, okay, sorry, you're not coming a week before, not even a week, days. We will refund you your money and we will leave it open. No, So, but anyway, the bigger issue is that a lot of these ministers and governors are no longer coming. You could think it's a way of saving money for the country, but again, I can tell you that they've already spent some money ahead of time in preparation. But the one I want to talk about is the minister for the Federal Capital Territory,
Okay.
Nyesom Wike. He's no longer coming. And people are beginning to connect it to issues he has there are some issues in Florida about properties that are under his name that he transferred to his children. I don't know if you know anything about that story. And
Well, I read on Sore's Facebook page and I think Twitter, when he said Wiki is a corrupt. I think he even put a picture of Wiki and the family there in the property in Florida. I also had Wiki try to defend himself before Nigerians when he was hosted by Sheun Okibaloye on Channels TV Politics for Today.
yeah,
I think Wike was trying to say that the house didn't belong to him, but when you do quit claim deed, it's probably that the property belongs to you originally before you can do quit claim deed. But he said the property does not belong to him. It was, given to his children. You are even showing the quit claim deed now. The problem is in Nigeria, there are a lot of loopholes that our political elite explore, for their personal interest, for their benefit. And in most cases, you don't have consequences to most of the way they behave. The the corruption, there are several corruption cases that have happened, in Nigeria. The Ezani Alizi Madueke is still there, with several billions of dollars corruption relating to oil and gas, and several other ones. Somebody stealing the pension fund. Up to now, we don't, and somebody, accountant general, stealing money. We don't know what is going on with all of this. So now come to Wike, an incumbent Minister of Federal Capital Territory. When you see them building road, doing all sort of infrastructure without even prioritizing things, they are just bringing out money. Some of them are not even well appropriated for. You will wonder whether they are actually being, passionate about helping the country, or they are looking for a way of helping themselves. You wouldn't know. So these are the things. So when and on the other side of it too, I don't want to judge, because you and I now are in the United States. If we are called to come and serve now back home, we already have property here. We already have things here. But there is a buri in Nigeria where you have to, I think, I forgot the name of the organization, government organization, where you have to declare your assets before you hold public office. And after holding the public office, you are still supposed to declare your assets. We now want to see the difference between the assets you have, when you took the position, and the assets you have after leaving the office, to see the balance. So what we may tell you is that go and get Freedom of Information Act to know, what I declared before I took office and what I have now, what I have when I leave office. That is one way to handle that. So to me, I believe that until we have proper accountability system, proper scrutiny system, and citizens coming up with information, just like Sorora is doing, coming with more information, peer pressure, we will continue to have similar cases like this, So that's all I have to say about that.
Okay, one last thing. Wike, I just want to mention that Wike's side, they are saying that it was a wife who is currently on the appeals court, a judge in the appeals court in Nigeria, that owned the property. That it was a wife that transferred them to, and the wife is a government official in Nigeria, owned three.
Judge, isn't it?
The judge, yeah, appeals court. Three I don't know what they cost. The estimate is saying millions of dollars.
And in Nigeria, how judges behave, so sometimes some of them do cash and carry. There was a time during Buhari's regime that Department of State Security stormed the house of a chief judge for one reason or the other, and they found several hard currencies in the house of that judge. So you wonder how a judge, a civil servant, probably earning maybe less than 1 million naira, was having a lot of hard currencies in his house. So we can speculate based on the situation we find ourselves in Nigeria, but we don't have concrete evidence. But it is what it is. Hopefully one day we will overcome.
One day we will overcome. All right, let's leave that subject matter, and but let's connect it to another issue, a subject matter with Sowore. As Sowore has been having a battle with DSS in Nigeria over what he sent out on social media, where he called Bola Tinubu a criminal. The DSS wanted Sowore to remove that tweet, He refused. They wanted Meta, the owners of Facebook, to remove it. They refused. And then they sued. They sued Showore and Meta of trying to force them to remove it. Showore, on his own part, sued the DSS and Meta for saying they must not remove his tweet. Now, it's not funny, but it's very important because I think it's an issue that the court may have to decide for Nigeria. In the sense that, and I wanted to get your view because yesterday I was telling people that in Nigeria, DSS were suing on behalf of the president, Tinubu, saying that Showore defamed Tinubu. But in America here, where we are, Trump is suing Wall Street Journal, suing the New York Times, that they defamed him by what they published. How do you rationalize the difference? Why would the DSS be suing on behalf of Tinubu?
Well, right now I don't know what Nigerian law says about this particular situation, but American law is different. In America, anybody can call president anything. People can say he's not my president. They can do protests and say Trump is not my president. They can call president a criminal. Of course, there are several congressmen and senators who have called President Trump a criminal, a felon. I'm bearing in mind that actually courts in New York. Actually, I think is it New York or even Atlanta or somewhere. Charge. Convicted Trump. I think it's New York.
New York.
Convicted Trump.
New York, yeah.
But by and large, many Americans sees that even political in a way. The conviction as political, but in book, it's a convicted felon in book. So now comparing that to Nigeria may be different because what I heard is that actually DSS charged Sowore on sedition, and that is kind of funny to me because sedition means a crime committed against a king, that you cannot challenge a king as a subject. That is a kind of UK law, but I don't know whether we have that law in Nigeria, whether you can, the government agency can charge people for sedition against the president. That would be very funny if we have that. But by and large, I think President Tinubu has never been convicted of any crime, really, by any court of law. We may say, okay, there are a lot of controversies around his personality, around his past, around the way he plays his politics, a lot of things that are not desirable, but he has not been convicted by any court of law as a criminal. Now, so that has his fundamental right to free speech, and it is left for somebody whose Sowore's fundamental right of free speech infringes upon, your fundamental right of free speech may infringe upon my own fundamental right. I can sue you to court, and then we can determine that in the court. But for DSS now to take that upon themselves when the president has not reported, okay? So it takes somebody to report to police and say, okay, this person infringed on my right. I want police to take it up. So it cannot be a state case against Sowore. It should be a case of the president himself. I think that is where you are driving at. A case of the president saying that this particular guy, said that I'm a criminal. What crime have I committed? But it will be interesting to see how this ends, to be honest. But for me, also, I will not even, I even see our governors, more as criminals than the president, because Supreme Court gave a judgment. Okay, I'm digressing a little bit now, but when I was thinking through what is happening, I look at the governors, 36 of them, more as criminals than the president. Supreme Court gave a judgment based on our inadequate constitution that the 774 local government that ab initio are not supposed to be in the federal constitution, that those local governments should have their direct allocation funding not being trampled upon by the state governors. But since that judgment was given, all the 36 governors have not obeyed the law. That's criminal and the president is not even helping in the matter. The CBN governor is also not helping in the matter. He's asking the local government to submit 2 years audit before they can get money to run our grassroots. So I think the Sorore case with the DSS, with the president, should also open our eye to what kind of government we are running. What kind of law do we have in the country? So, and it will be interesting how the court determine the case. And it's good that they both counter sue each other. It's interesting.
All right. We'll get back to Shore and other things if we have time. But let me take your mind to this story. The Nigeria's federal government, they paid 330 billion naira to 70 million households in Nigeria as what is called conditional cash transfer. 330 billion naira to 70 million households. A lot of people have been going around looking for those households, trying to find the people. It's not funny. They've not been able to find them. I don't know if you met anybody, but bigger question is, I know you deal with these issues like money and how it's being used and the best way to use the resources of the country to help ordinary people. Is this the best way? Let's say that actually they were
absolutely no.
Okay.
Absolutely no. So now the president did 2 reforms that threw Nigeria into chaos. The tragedy with our country is that people go into government without having deeper thinking, deeper thoughts about what they want to do, what will be the impact of what they want to do. You just came in and you stop subsidy. You have said you will stop subsidy, but you didn't understudy things to know maybe this subsidy is not even much. Maybe it's a lot of corruption. We saw Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala trying to audit subsidy regime during Jonathan's presidency. Okay? So you came and you removed the subsidy. You threw everybody into problem. 30 million Nigerians were thrown into poverty within 1 year of Tinubu, getting into the office because of 2 major policies, the floating of Naira and the subsidy removal. As important as those things are, you cannot do things that will make people poorer. You have to do things systematically. We call it system thinking. What will be the impact of what I want to do? How can I minimize that impact? So the 330 billion naira you talk about is an afterthought that was not well planned for. Therefore, there is tendencies that such amount of money will end up into private pockets. So how did you, first of all, identify 70 million people that you needed to give the money to? You know, how did you identify them? How did you know their income level? How did you know whether they will benefit or not? So these are some of the things. So that conditional transfer, you know, is faulty. It is possible if you have the data. You know, you can help do conditional cash transfer in a country where you have adequate data of who is who. You know, American government now, if they want to know where is Rudolph Okonkwo, they know where you live. Okay? They know where Olarinre Salako lives. They know our economic, each of us, individual economic status. If they want to give some, during COVID, they know how they gave money to people who needed it. And, you know, my children go to school, they know the children that needed extra, that needed free lunch. They know the children that do not need free lunch. So when you now put 330 billion and you say you are doing conditional cash transfer to 70 million households, so the questions are, how did you determine that 330 billion will be enough? How did you determine the 70 million household that you are giving it to? You know, can we audit it? So I challenge the ruling government, the government, to audit it. Can they bring out, you know, people who actually benefit from this money? You know, people are still suffering. There is still food insecurity in the country today. You know, a lot of people who are not even asking for help from some of us in the diaspora before, they now ask for. So I think probably, you know, this is another way of government misplaced priority, poor system thinking, or outright ways of, you know, stealing is not corruption.
Let me. You said that probably the government, which is led by Tinubu, probably they did not think about all these things before they got into power. They just wanted power for the sake of getting into power. I believe I'm trying to paraphrase what you were trying to say. But if you go back to January 2012, when Jonathan wanted to remove oil subsidy, Tinubu and others in the opposition party then were leading the protests, and they were pointing out what would happen if Jonathan removed oil subsidy. They were pointing out that there would be inflation, there were prices of things would go, everything that is happening now. They knew it in 2012 when they were in opposition. So it's not that they didn't know. It's just that they didn't care, had no solution. They didn't plan for how to solve it.
You are correct. You are correct that they protested that time. In fact, I remember that some of those protests led to Farouk Lawan, one House of Representatives, investigating the subsidy regime involving Otedola and others. And in the process, they set up Farouk Lawan with $500,000. And that bribery scandal resulted in Farouk Lawan going to jail and Otedola still walking free. Despite that, you know, there are several cases of stealing through subsidy regime, you know, and that also led to Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, coordinating minister of the economy that time, doing auditing of the subsidy regime, because Jonathan that time wanted to see how much should we even be paying as subsidy? What is the situation? Can we even reduce, you know, filter out the corruption from the regime and see how we can reduce the effect of subsidy while even taking care of the poor Nigerians to benefit from what we produce at home. Crude oil that we produce in our country. We should benefit. We shouldn't be, energy is not cheap all around the world. Nigeria should benefit from subsidized energy. Everywhere around the world, people benefit from subsidized energy. So you are right that they probably are aware of the impact, but they didn't care because they wanted money. Maybe they wanted money to do the Lagos Calabar Coastal Highway or any other thing that, they want to have a signature project and be able to, say during their own time, this is what they did. But the poor are suffering the more. And as I wrote in one of my articles, I said, Anyagbe Ajadun. Anyagbe Ajadun means that, when you are frying a dog meat, it takes time. But before you get that dog deeply fried, you have to eat something. Nigerians are being put into, more and more Nigerians are being put into poverty. A lot of middle class people are being, their income are being eroded away. They don't have, their purchasing power is being eroded away. So something really has to be done. Tangible, something tangible has to be done. And it is not by giving 330 billion to also that we don't know who they are, which is another wastage in my view.
Okay. All right. We are going to get into more of the policies that Tinubu is pushing in this current administration. One of them is really about the new tax structure, which I don't know if you've had a time to to pay attention to. We'll talk about that. But let me show you this. This is something that people dug up recently. This is Tinubu as governor trying to get all the governors of Nigeria to oppose a tax on fuel that the government wanted to impose Obasanjo when he was governor, when Tinubu was governor in Lagos State. And now, in the tax bill that he signed, there is provision for 5% tax on fuel for Nigerians. So how do you explain this, that when he was governor, he opposed this? When he was in opposition, he opposed removal of oil subsidy. Now he did it as if it wasn't something that he was against. And people are saying, where are the benefits? We're not seeing these benefits. How do you explain that?
A moment ago, you said I'm a Christian. I came from church about 15 to 30 minutes before I joined this program. And you see, I have I am from a very modest home. I thank God for what God has helped me to become. One thing I learned from the Bible, Deuteronomy chapter 15, verse 7. We are encouraged not to be hard on the poor. And there will always be poor in the land. But we are commanded to look after the poor. United States of America is the headquarters of capitalism. Okay? But still in the United States of America, they have a way of taking care of the poor. Okay? Now, a government that removed fuel subsidy, that threw away the bathwater with the baby. The bathwater is the corruption in the subsidy regime, which Jonathan was trying to sort out that time. Tinubu did not have the courage to sort it out. Rather, he just decided that, okay, let me remove the subsidy, get rid of the subsidy, so let's have free open market, but without paying attention to the poor. Now, if you now want to now impose another 5% on fuel tax on people, you won't kill them finish. You won't kill people finish. Currently, to run a generator either to do SME or to do to run your house, you spend between 400 naira to 600 naira per kilowatt hour that your generator produce. 400 to 600 naira per kilowatt hour for your generator. In America, 1 kilowatt hour is about 220 naira. Now, if you don't have electricity, you will buy fuel. Some people buy petrol to fuel their generator. Some people buy diesel. Now you are imposing fuel tax again. So you are compounding people's problem. And governance is about the people. There is no other way to look at it than to say this government has to slow down. They have to slow down in their drive to get more revenue. We know they have a lot of projects they want to do, but they still need to slow down in taxing people out of existence. You know, if you remove subsidy, make it that for now. Don't impose tax now. Make life easy for people first. Let them come out of the food insecurity first of all. Let them balance up. Let their purchasing power increase a little bit before you impose tax again. That's all I have to say about that for now.
Thank you so much. And we will let our audience to join us in the conversation, but we want to touch on a few other things before that time. There have been so many essays you've been writing about the state of the country and what you think Tinubu can do to help real people in real time before the next 4 years, which is where I think his attention now is on how to win re-election. But I want to bring you back to power sector, because you are interested in that sector and you have a lot of knowledge about what's going on. Tinubu himself said that if he said, I don't have the audio now, I will have played it for people. He said that if I don't give you power, 24-hour power in Nigeria, don't vote for me again. He said that everybody had him. We are getting to 2027. It's not likely that we are going to get even 10 hours power, not to talk of 24 hours. But he wants to be reelected, and they are making every effort to get people to vote for them. What is wrong with the power sector in Nigeria?
So, that statement, he made it when he was campaigning. That was December 2022. Unfortunately, you know, when you tag our conversation, practical things Tinubu can do. He doesn't have 2 years. He has only 1 year remaining. Because already his political party has adopted him as the sole candidate. If you go to Abuja now, you know, several people, even Shane Okinbaloye was mentioning that the president's poster is all over the places in Abuja. You know, the campaign has already started. So, and you know, unfortunately also, the Minister of Power, who happens to be my brother from Oyo State, Adelabu, he also has his 2 eyes fixed on Agodi government house, while he's using 2 legs to run after collapsed grid, national grid. So you will realize that there isn't much they can do again in the next 1 year, to be honest. Now, the Nigeria power system is full of a lot of intrigues. And I want to say this one, very, very important. And I want listeners at home, wherever they are, to take note of this. The government said they are owing about 4 trillion naira, 4 trillion naira to Genco and Disco. And out of these 4 trillion, they said about 2.6 or so was only, let me get my facts right, because this is very important. Very, very important. So out of the 4 trillion, they said 1.9 trillion naira was the debt for only 2024. Only 2024, 1.9. The remaining 2.1 was from 2015 to 2023. Then in 2024 only, 1.9 trillion was owed to Genco and Disco. How did we arrive at this? When there is no light, when there is no electricity, when people barely have electricity for 5 hours, 10 hours in a day. They need to be transparent with this. And they are about to pay the money. They are about to pay 4 trillion naira to Genco and Disco. We want to know those companies, how much we owe each of them, for how many megawatts of electricity they supply. They need to be transparent with it. Our power sector, there has to be an emergency declared and the books opened to all Nigerians. Now, when President Tinubu gave the approval, he said it was a tentative approval. Immediately, the Nigeria Bulk Electricity Trading Company, they said it is not 4 trillion naira, it is 1.8 trillion naira. That is another angle to it. That means government doesn't even know what they are doing. Do you understand that? Now, the National Assembly compounded the problem and invited Disco. And they said Disco is owing Nigeria 2.6 trillion naira. So how do we reconcile all of this? So, and this thing is not rocket science. It's just about knowing how many megawatts of electricity were generated, transmitted, distributed to Nigerians. How much of these megawatts were subsidized? How much is the subsidy cumulatively? Then, how much did we pay to these people? So the problem is that in between, Nigeria government is the one buying electricity from Genco because they are the owner of the transmission line. And then Nigeria government sell to Disco, and then Disco sell to Nigerians. This is the typical procedure all around the world, which is working in many parts of the world. But it seems not to be working for us in Nigeria. That is why you have a lot of grid collapse. I even thought that this year there will not be any grid collapse until maybe last week that we saw another grid collapse. It is very unfortunate. And when you look at this, energy is very important to any national development. No nation can industrialize without energy. Even God, if you believe in God like me, and you believe in the Bible like me, the first thing God created is light. That is to tell you the emergency nature of electricity for any national development. So we cannot lift people out of poverty without having adequate electricity supply tied to agro-allied and industrial corridors. That is very paramount. Any government that really want to help Nigeria must tie electricity generation and transmission and distribution together as one entity, tie it to agricultural development and processing and industrial development. 40% of our agricultural produce get rotting. Food crops, they get rotting before they get to the market. 40%. And that is equivalent to $9 billion in last year alone. $9 billion. Where we imported $2.5 billion of food last year. If we have electricity in our rural area, where we have cold chains, where we have a milling machine that use cheaper, affordable electricity, we can reduce our wasted, the amount of wasted post-harvest crops, food crops, and create more employment. But if we have to do that, that cannot be done by a minister who is running after Agodi and running after greed that is broken. And is not even transparent with Nigerians about how much we are owing to Genco and Disco, whether we are paying for the darkness or we are paying for the little light they supplied us in the past. We need to know all of this. There are a lot of opportunity. All of these problems, I see them as opportunity because, there are various ways, many working models that we can bring to Nigeria. Rural electrification in America started as far back as 1933 by President Franklin D. Roosevelt. He electrified entire rural America, not with free markets, because utility companies see rural electrification as unprofitable that time. So Franklin D. Roosevelt came up with idea of cooperative ownership with low interest, long-term loan. That is an idea we should use in Nigeria. Get farmers and SME manufacturing companies, put them into corridors where farm produce can easily utilize cold chain, where we can use electric power irrigation system, where we can do some processing, drying of crops with electricity, affordable. Let them be the one that we own distributed energy. Solar, for instance, you can have, you can estimate how much megawatt of solar a particular corridor we need. Give them loan, build the system for them, set up a cooperative for them to manage it. They are the owner. They will just be paying back. We can do that and reduce the cost of electricity to maybe 100 naira, at most 200 naira without even subsidy, before we even subsidize. It's possible. So with that, you remove the inadequacies of Genco, Senco, and all these transmission problem, the collapsed grid. So we really have to think and sit down and think in terms of a system in which there will be inter-ministerial agencies, collaboration, thinking in terms of a system.
All right. We are going to take a break. When we come back, we are going to continue the conversation with Dr. Salako. I want you to talk about, when we come back, you're an expert on enhanced oil recovery. Meanwhile, our refineries, our whole oil industry is a mess. We don't know what's going on there. I want you to talk about that. Also, I want to talk about carbon capture. And we have gases, we flare gases in the Niger Delta, and it's when we have experts like you, I don't know why the country is the way it is. So I'll come back and you give us more about that, what is going on, why people like you are serving countries abroad, and Nigeria is in a mess. And then we get people also involved in the conversation. So let's take a break, and thank you so much for being with us. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much for staying with us. We're having an interesting conversation with Dr. Salako, who is a consultant and energy specialist with patent rights, many of them in America. He has a doctorate degree. He's an expert in energy sustainability, carbon capture. We can capture gas. Dr. Salako, we can capture gas. We waste gas in Nigeria, and you are capturing carbon for other people. So what is going on? Why is it that we, till today, after how many years of discovering oil, crude oil in Nigeria, we still cannot manage that resource?
unfortunately, is still part of the Nigerian question. You know, we when a country has political problem, they will not be able to manage their resources appropriately as well. But I think recently there are efforts to utilize gas. I am aware they are building a lot of gas pipeline. They have a plan for extending gas pipeline across the country to further reduce the gas flaring. You know, LLNG is working on a lot of that, but more still need to be done. You know, I'm also aware of their CNG, compressed natural gas, efforts in which they are encouraging people to put converter into their vehicle. Some people are even afraid of what that will do to their engine and all the rest like that. Some people are even saying that it's not as cheaper as you will think it will be. So a lot of several, several issues around that. But I believe that, as I always say, things has to be done in a transparent manner. Communication has to be done in a transparent manner. Cause and effect has to be explained to the people. Now, you mentioned refinery also. That is one area that really gives me a lot of concern. And recently, there has been several acquisition and counter acquisition between Nopeng and Dangote Refinery about monopoly. You know that Dangote is fond of monopolizing things, monopolizing the industry where he operates, and all the rest like that. And there are also people who are saying that, you know, importers who have ate they have ate fat on subsidy. They are also the one who are not happy with Dangote Refinery, who are trying to frustrate Dangote Refinery. You know, all of this also is because, we have government that is not able to manage things properly. You said that when you have people like me all around the world, you know, of course there are several people all around the world who can manage system in Nigeria, but there has to be political will to really do things appropriately. Technical know-how is not really our problem because there are people who have knowledge who can help our country, who are helping other countries, as you said. But if there is no political will to do the right thing, the situation will not change. You know, even as we are talking now, you know, we have a minister of power, we have minister of petroleum, state for petroleum, we have advisor, all of them. There are 4 people involved in our energy system now, leading us. All of them. Only one person is a biologist. 2 are accountants. 1 is a lawyer. So they really don't have the technical know-how, but if they have political, there are people they can use who have technical know-how that can help them. For instance, our refinery, I don't know why it is not working, to be honest. I don't know why, because there are refineries all around the world that are much older than our refineries. Much older than our refinery. And they are still working, producing almost to 80% install capacity, to even some 90% install capacity. Ours are not producing anything. And a lot of money have been put into them, from one government to another. And it's still not working. People have said they should sell it. I don't believe they should sell it. I believe it should work. If we cannot get refinery to work that will help our country, then why do we even have a country? Why do we have a country? All the OPEC countries have refineries. All other OPEC countries have refineries that are working. So the best we can do is to now say, okay, maybe we should give it to an operator. Give the refineries to operators. Let Nigerian government have share in the refinery. After all, we have share in Dangote's refinery too. NNPC has share in Dangote refinery.
No, but they did not finish paying. I don't think they still have shares. they were going to give some money. They didn't give. Just check very well. I don't think they still have.
Well, so our refinery, the one we have, the whole idea of government getting involved in all of this, because some capitalists who like free market, who believe that free market is the best. Some of them did not even live in America, where even free market is moderated by government one way or the other. But World Bank, IMF, and all the rest, all those multilateral organizations will come to our country and say free market, remove subsidy, and put people into trouble. Whereas in other Western nations, they find way to subsidize not only production, they even subsidize consumption in a way. So we can use the refinery to moderate. If our refineries are working, we will use it to moderate market a little bit, to moderate the greed of the business people, on behalf of Nigerian people who built the refinery ab initio. But if you sell it wholesale, you sell it so cheaply to political cronies and all the rest, the masses will not benefit from it. So the free market, you think if you stay, maybe the price will come down in a free competitive market, is a lie. It will not come down to the level of affordability by the common man. In America today, if there is any problem, America will release from the strategic reserve. Biden did that several times, when he was there. And before he left, he bought a lot of crude oil also back to the strategic reserve. I'm not sure whether Nigeria has planned for all of those, to cushion the effect, So NNPC, to be honest, is very ineffective. Even when they become limited company, they are still ineffective. A lot of our problems are combination of ineptitude, corruption, lack of knowledge of people who are running our affairs. You have a country of over 200 million people, and you have an accountant running the electricity system. You have a political scientist as an advisor to the president, on energy. So you have one lawyer as Minister of State for Petroleum, Oil, and then a biologist as Minister of State for Petroleum Gas. There is a limit to which they can do, because they don't have the real knowledge of the science, of the technical technicalities of the whole thing. They can only manage what is presented to them. Okay, so if you cannot have a Rudolph Okonkwo, who is more into journalism, you cannot have him to be the Attorney General of the Federation. It's not a lawyer. Okay, so you cannot have me to be the Minister of Earth. What do you expect? What are you expecting from an accountant heading electricity sector? That's another fundamental problem that we have. We are not yet mature to the level in which we have a lawyer in America heading Department of Energy. And to be honest, even our energy sector, we need to really think through it properly. Where do you have electricity separated from oil and gas? It's all energy. So oil and gas are source of energy. Electricity is an energy factor. So you have gas. That is why Denko is complaining about gas supply. Gas sits in a different ministry. Electricity sits in a different ministry. All sorts of things. So many things are wrong, and nobody is thinking properly through the problem. That is the concern I have.
All right, let's because we are running out of time, unfortunately, but let's touch on a few issues that are also important. Most people look at this government of Bola Tinubu, and they say that he's essentially doing what he did in Lagos State as governor. Adeboye, who ran for governor last time, said essentially that Tinubu is a tax collector, and he has set in motion an effort to collect taxes the way he did in Lagos with the new tax bill. I know you've written about it. One of your articles was called a Tax ID Debate, a missed chance for simplicity.
Yes.
So, but all the analysis that even his people are making, they try to calm people down and say that there won't be, poor people will not be taxed. But they put in systems in such a way that obviously the government plans to collect a lot of money. And they will, because most likely they will hand it over to a private company like Alpha Beta to do the collection of taxes. So what is your take on this massive tax plan and the fact that the people, it appears as if the Nigerian people have no say in how the money, either money borrowed in their name or money that are going to be realized from the taxes, or even the resources, the subsidy resources, the money removed from subsidy. They kept saying to us that, oh, the state governments are getting more money than ever before. But if you look at the actual value of that money they're getting today, it's nothing compared to what they got during Buhari or during Jonathan's time. If you put that in real value of the currency to dollar.
In terms of foreign exchange.
Yeah. Because price of everything jumped by three times the value. Yeah. So when you are saying that somebody is now getting 300 billion when they used to get 100 billion, they've not gotten anything more than what they were getting before, essentially. But anyway, tell us what
you are very correct. First of all, I wrote about the tax ID because it is still back to the fundamental thing I always say. Ineptitude and poor system thinking. All over the world, citizens pay tax. We are in America, we pay tax. Tax collection is not a bad thing. But for somebody like Uncle Ahmed, I call him Uncle Ahmed, he's more capitalistic in nature. He's bringing the idea of Lagos to run Nigeria. And, he has to really understand Nigeria as a whole and the difference between Nigeria as a country and Lagos as a state of elite and middle class. And of course, there are poor people in Lagos too. So when you look at Tinubu government, even when he was in Lagos, when you go to interiors of Lagos, you will realize that there is no development there. Many schools are not attended to. So, but, because he was able to get tax and do some projects that are appealing to the middle class, and elite, people think he did well in Lagos. Now, coming back to the issue of loan that is taking, and even the subsidy savings that he has gotten, he's running Renew Hope development projects. One of the projects is the airport that I had Minister Keyama saying that they will complete the international airport terminals that will make Nigeria a connecting hub in Africa. All these are good. But the problem is a lot of poor people do not travel through the airport. A lot of poor people are looking for safety net. Their salary is no longer able to buy food on their table. Now, and you now want to talk about tax. We have spoken about 5% tax on fuel that they want to introduce. Now, the tax collection, they probably will get a consultant the way he got for Lagos, as you mentioned, Alpha Beta. Some people even insinuated that time that Alpha Beta is his company. Maybe that consultant will now say they will take maybe 10% or 20% of the entire money. You look at the way our system work inefficiently. When we have inland revenue services, you cannot imagine America IRS not able to collect tax and hiring Rudolph Okonkwo or Olarinre Salako as a consultant to collect the tax from Americans. But because nobody will talk, even the opposition will keep quiet. Because when it is their turn too, they will see it as an opportunity to enrich themselves. So that is the problem. It's really a big problem. And I really think that the civil society organization will look into this, that the tax that will be collected will only be collected by Nigeria Inland Revenue Services, not consultants, that we take a large percentage of the money that we are supposed to use for our development into their own pockets and probably share with the politicians at the end of the day, if they are not the one that even own the consulting company. Especially for this government that is doing Lagos-Calabar Road without any public procurement system, no transparent competitive bidding, and they are doing the same thing for the airports too. They call it Renew Hope Developmental Fund, which they got from the savings of the fuel subsidy. Now, I think people should pay tax. But, you cannot tax people who do not make money. And they have said it, that if you don't make up to 800,000 naira in a year, you will not be taxed. And I think also that a responsible government should actually communicate to people more about what they want to use the money for, so that will encourage more people to pay. I also think that, as I mentioned, that they miss the opportunity for simplicity, that they should tell people that they don't need any tax ID apart from their national identity number. In America here, the only tax ID I have is my social security number. Likewise, when I was in Canada. Likewise, when I was in the United Kingdom. So, don't complicate things. In the Tax Act that they signed to law, there is nothing mentioned about using national identity number there for tax tracking. It seems to me that the Presidential Committee did not work with the National Identity Management Commission, the one that is in charge of NIN. We also have BVN with our bank. So all of these numbers are enough. We don't need any tax ID again. So they really need to, put it straight to Nigerians that, okay, I'll even amend that tax act, that NIN is the main tax ID. And then by the time they are getting the tax, they are looking at it, they'll be transparent with it. We don't want any consultant to take a percentage of the money. Now, come up with the poverty eradication program, not the one that you will share money to household, the household that does not exist. Come up with idea of helping the poor, because if the poor will not probably pay any tax, they will only show that they don't earn anything.
Hold on, Doc. Because they mentioned their agents always say 800,000 if you make less than 800,000. You know what 800,000 means a month is 66,000 naira.
Okay.
So if you are making minimum wage, their minimum wage, which is 70,000, you will pay tax. How many people are making minimum wage? In Nigeria, they are living on minimum wage.
But if they don't make minimum wage, they won't pay tax.
Yeah, but it's even less than minimum wage. What they were saying that you have to make so that you don't pay is about 66,000 naira. So that what it means is that if you are making minimum wage, you are going to pay tax of 70,000 because you are making, at that point, you are making over 800. Remember, 800,000 a year, not every month. Most people, the way they present it, most people.
So they really need to raise the threshold. That's another thing. And thank you for that. Because somebody who has a family of 2, for instance, making 70,000 naira a month, that is not even enough to feed that family. It's far, far lower than what they will need to feed themselves. So a lot of people are living really, really in poverty in Nigeria. So maybe people making 5 million naira are the one that should pay tax. These are some of the discussions we need to discuss as a country. The problem with us is that our leaders don't talk with us. They just do whatever they like. When I was in Scotland, as a Ph.D. student, I received memo from my local council telling me to make input into budgets. Our leaders don't talk to us. You saw President Tinubu traveling to France the other time, and you saw the governors, some of the governors, and the people working in the presidency, seeing him off. When you compare that to America, Trump will be going out of the country. You will see journalists asking him questions. You will see him answering questions, to journalists. We don't see that in Nigeria. That is why they will come up with a tax threshold that once you make 800,000 naira in a year, you have to pay tax. They even said that if I send money to my family member in Nigeria, once it enters into the account, they have to pay tax. Somebody who is struggling that I send maybe 20,000 naira or 40,000 naira to, we pay tax on top of it. So we really have to think of how to modify things for Nigerians. Definitely, everybody must declare their income. Even if you will not pay tax on top of it, declare the income. I love the process of using national identity number to declare income. It will even be useful in the process of providing social services to people. If you file tax, even if you are not paying, just file. Declare the income you make. And then, government has information about your income. When they want to give anything to help the poor, or they want to identify people they need to help to put out of poverty, maybe to come and hold small business, they will be able to identify them. So our people also should not look at the system with hostility. They should also look at it with open mind. That, okay, they said maybe, for now, they say 800, but I don't make up to 800. I will not be taxed, but I will declare what I make. Declare what you make. So that, so that's the way I think we should balance it.
All right. One last question before I bring in people who are here. If you want to join us, please, when you come into the studio, turn on your camera so we can put you on. You have opportunity to ask a question or make a comment with our guest. One last question from me. There was an article you wrote called Yoruba Wisdom
Yes.
Tinubu must remember.
Yes.
In it, you mentioned the Yoruba proverb, which is translated to mean that a deeply fried dog is delicious.
Yes.
But we must eat something else first because it takes too long for deeply fried dog meat, fatty dog meat to, is it to
get done.
digest? Okay.
Yeah,
So to get done, to get done. Okay, to
Yes.
get done. All right,
Take
all right.
longer.
So what have you been your advice to the president on how to deliver for the Nigerian people? Because he's claiming that renewed hope, he wants to deliver for the people, but people are complaining. Even in Lagos, his own state, people are screaming, "We are hungry."
Food security is very important. You know, there is another Yoruba saying that tí ebi bá tán nínú ìṣẹ́, ìṣẹ́ bùṣe. What that means is a poor person, the number one priority of a poor person is how to eat. A very poor person. Some people, some people don't eat more than once a day. Not because they are fasting. It's because there is no way they can eat. So the first thing you need to provide is food for that person. Somebody come to you. He doesn't have money. He doesn't have anything. He has not ate since yesterday. You don't just tell that person, oh, okay, let me find you a job. The first thing you find that person is to eat first. And then you can teach that person how to fish, how to make ends meet. The president has to look at ways of reducing food insecurity in Nigeria as a matter of urgency. You know, food is very expensive now. And as I've said earlier on, 40% of our food crops are wasted before they get to the market. That 40% is equivalent to $9 billion. That is World Bank estimate, $9 billion. And we also imported $2.5 billion worth of food. This is a priority the government must address ahead of any other thing.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Salako. Let's get to some of our guests, people who are joining us to interact with our guests. And we have Stay Humble. Stay Humble, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you very much. Good evening, Dr. Damages. Good evening to the guest, Dr. Olarinre Salako, if I got the pronunciation right.
Yes.
Okay, so last week, when we had a guest here, Dr. Damages did mention that we have someone who, despite the illegitimacy of this government, wants to give them some pep talk, give them a helping hand to see if something that is bad, very bad, smelly, would transform and metamorphose into a blessing to Nigerians. Yeah, so I was wondering, what you will say. This evening, I just tuned in to hear. So my question to you is, I appreciate the fact that we are all stakeholders in the Nigerian project, right? Says we still have a Nigeria. We are all stakeholders and we should contribute all we can to make Nigeria work, in every aspect of it. So what is your motive? Because we've had people in the past who have come in here to use different platforms to to campaign for good governance and to speak on the side of the people, or to pretend to speak on the side of people. And, their motive, their main motive have been to, use that as a platform to gain the attention of the government and eventually become political jobbers, the Reno Omokri, the Daniel Boala. So my question to you is this, why do you want to waste everybody's time, trying to give advice to this government, knowing fully well, whether you believe it or not, that this government is illegitimate and a hostile occupying government? Why do you spend time, trying to advise them instead of actually advocating for good governance and even advocating for them to vacate office since they did not win the election? So why do you give advice to an illegitimate government? That's
Thank
my
you,
question to you.
Mr. Stay humble. Thank you very much. So, I did not campaign for Tinubu. I did not campaign for Obi. I did not campaign for Atiku. The only person I supported that many people have even looked at me that maybe I'm not serious was Pastor Tunde Bakare, because of my conviction in him. Okay, we all have our various conviction. Some people have their conviction in Obi, some have theirs in Tinubu. But one thing is sure, whether the system is good or bad, today, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu still bears the president of Nigeria. Whether it is legitimate or illegitimate, is still there, running the affairs of over 200 million Nigerians. Is it right for us to just look on while he does what he likes? I don't think so. We need to talk. Whether our talking will have impact or not, well, we have our say. Majority may have their way, but minority will have their say. So Rudolph's friend is making his own impact in the way he deems fit. I believe this is the way I can make my own impact the way I deem fit. By writing, by making my comment. And, if I am first of all, I'm a professional. I have a company I run. If I have a project anywhere, I do it appropriately with the best of my ability. Now, this one we are doing is part of our civic responsibility. Whether the government is legitimate or not, in the next 1 year, 4 months, we will have another opportunity to go and do referendum on Tinubu again. And, it is our responsibility also to see what we can do to make sure the next government will be legitimate as we want. Okay? For me, I believe that the Supreme Court has pronounced him as legitimate. We are left to now think maybe Supreme Court decided right for Nigeria or not. But he's the president today. And we have the civic responsibility to make sure we speak on behalf of the Nigerian people. That's all I have to say.
All right. Thank you so much. Stay humble. Let me take a question from the comment section before I come to Masca. There's a question for you. It says, what do you think about Adewale Adebayo as a candidate for president? What do you think about him?
Who is Adewale Adebayo? I don't know him.
You don't know him? SDP. He was a candidate for SDP during the last election.
Oh, yeah. I know him now. Prince Adewale.
Yeah.
He's a good man. I think he has a very good grasp of issues, you know. But then, you know, in Nigeria, I'm talking to you now. If I go back to my constituency in Oyo Federal Constituency, they will not think I know the issue. That's the problem with our people too, Nigerians. You know, Sowore is doing his best. Some people like him, but does Sowore has what it takes to spend and win election in Nigeria? You know, one of the problems we have in Nigeria is monetization of our politics. As Trump, as rich as Trump, people who wanted him, who love his ideology, they are contributing to his campaign. You know, artisan, everybody. In Nigeria, we don't have such system. They will even ask from you. So Adewale, Adebayo is good, but I prefer, you know, a situation whereby we have two strong political system. This multi-party system is not going to help us. Let's have one strong opposition and one ruling party. And then when we want to make a decision the next election, we will flip. Over time, you know, it will be easy for us to make a decision. But when we have too many good people scattered all over the places, it will be easy for bad people to emerge. People who can buy votes to emerge. So I like him. He's a good man. But, you know, it's either, in my view, it's either you belong to the ruling party or you belong to the opposition party, and you can struggle, just like you have Republican versus Democrat in America. You know, all other smaller party in America, they don't go far. You know, that's my view.
All right, thank you. Maska, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mr. Rudolph. Once again, well done. I remove my cap for you. Well done for a good job.
Thank you.
Thank you, viewers. Thank you, listeners, and people in the comment section. Let me try to be politically correct like every other person. But most importantly, thank you, Doctor. I have listened intently, and I must say I'm truly impressed, honestly. A lot of people, when they leave the country, they leave the problem behind. But especially from the background to Rudolph's questions, it was evident that you have constantly been writing about the issues in Nigeria. You've kept a very close tab on the issues. Let's even say you have your two eyes on the issues in Nigeria, especially in the energy sector. I'm really very much glad. I thank you for that. I don't have any question for you, but there's a comment you made about the tax identity. So I just felt that I should, in my opinion, I think it's a good idea that they should use the NIN. But the challenge for that idea is that obviously it will work for private individuals. But I mean, certainly for corporate bodies, how would you use NIN for tax identity?
Okay, you are correct. Already, the corporate organization, I have a company in Nigeria also. The corporate organization already have their tax ID. Okay. If you register, in fact, your CAC registration and all the rest, if you file tax, you get tax ID. In America, for instance, we have employer identification number, which we use as our corporate tax ID. But for individual, your national identity number is enough for individual. And I mentioned what you have just said about corporate organization. I mentioned it in my article as well. If you look for that article, you will see that I said that, you know, tax ID for corporate organization, you know, is enough. It's enough. You know.
All right, thank you, Maska.
All right, sorry, Mr. Rudo. Just one more comment in terms of his opinion about him not supporting the privatization of the refineries.
Yeah.
But just to put it on the table also, that somebody like me, from experience, I think we should rather privatize every government outfit, simply because this is currently being used as a medium to siphon a lot of money. The turnaround time that they keep doing and doing, somebody in the comment section said all our refineries by now must be very, very dizzy, because the number of times they have turned them around, it's ridiculous. And the truth is that I don't find it funny, because every time they do this turnaround time, it's billions and billions
of dollars
with nothing to show. So
I think
it's simple mathematics for me.
I agree with
the government. Sorry, sir, as a government, if I give out that refinery for free, I'll block that leakage for anybody coming back tomorrow to say, oh, we need to turn this thing around. But look, I'm just saying that
I agree. So your opinion is what many people also hold about. It's like throwing the baby and the bathwater away. You know, what is wrong with us as a people? What is really wrong with us? You know, this is something that can even be an income generating thing for government. So what we can do, in my view, I did not say the government should own it. Government can have an operator to jointly own it. That operator can own maybe 70%, or, you know, involve Nigerians to come and own part of it. You and I own part of it, and government can own maybe 10 to 15%, or at most 30%. And let it be run by, you know, but people who are working in the refinery also will rise up and say, no, you know, they are nearing retirement. Some of them want retirement benefits, some of them. So, and all along, they have been looking. They have been complicit in the non-functioning of the refinery.
All right, thank you, sir. I'm grateful, sir. Thank you for your response. Thank you. And I think you should put together your stuff and send. I'm sure you have links back in Nigeria. Even if this government doesn't listen to you, government is a continuous. Somebody will probably listen at some point. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Master. Before we go to Master, let me, there's a question on the comment section, and it says, which Tinubu policies will stand the test of time, in your view? What do you think?
Do I really know which of his policy will stand the test of time? That's a good question, to be honest. Well, he did sign the Electricity Act into law, even though that started with Buhari. But unfortunately, the state governors, I'm not sure if all of them are utilizing the opportunity of the Electricity Act. Then he has also expanded the regional commission. You know, we used to have Niger Delta Commission. Later, we have Northeast Development Commission. Now he has a Northwest Development Commission, Southwest and Northeast, Southeast. All of them now, which, when you look at, makes sense, because that is a way of us thinking in the direction of going back to the regional level, because all these 36 handicaps we have as states that cannot feed for themselves, really, you know, are not sustainable. So I like the idea of regional development commission if they are ready to do something really genuine, something innovative. You know, even though that will also mean that a lot of resources will be given to them, the resources that are not enough, and we are duplicating government all around the places, you know. So I would have preferred we have regional system, if we want to have regional system, or the governors at their region collaborating to do bigger projects that will impact the life of the people in their region, you know. So to answer that question, well, the idea of regional development can be useful. It's a good policy. It's a good idea. If the tax is handled properly, such that people do not earn more than maybe 5 million naira a year, They can only declare their income. They will not pay tax. If that is handled properly and everybody sees tax as a civic duty or declaring their income as a civic duty, I think that will stand the test of time, especially if people are now demanding for how the money is being spent. You know, I think that will also stand the test of that, but they need to do their homework properly in that area. What else? I think we can continue on it, but I will allow people to ask. I will allow us to go further on that. So,
All right. Thank you so much. Let's go to Mazi Apara.
Yeah, good evening from here, Dr. Salako and Dr. Rudolph. I don't have much to say, but Dr. Salako, you spoke intensively on energy. I believe that President Tinubu made a horrible mistake from removing the subsidy on energy, mostly on petrol, because here where I live in Germany, if you remove subsidy on energy, Germany will collapse the next day. There is no way you can remove subsidy on energy, being it electricity, being it gas, being it petroleum. You cannot. I've been here for 35 years. And since I've been here, I have not bought a liter of petrol more than €1.60. During the COVID, it added about 10 cents or 20 cents. And when when Russia started, the war with Ukraine, it rose up to $2, and later it went back to 160. So Tinubu coming from the day one saying that the subsidy is gone, that was a terrible mistake.
it is.
And I believe that unless that policy is taken back, Nigeria will never see any progress, being it in manufacturing, being it in any sector. It will be impossible for Nigeria to go forward as long as this policy on energy is there. There is no way you can remove subsidy on energy. Even here where I live, there is subsidy on everything, including milk you drink. Because that's why sometimes you see European farmers demonstrating, because sometimes the subsidy is so much on milk that milk is almost 50 cents for a liter. So for these people, that I don't know, I don't want to say that they don't know what they're doing, but I think most of them, they have no idea how to govern a country like Nigeria.
So
few days after he resumed office, he came here. He was boasting how he developed Lagos. And a colleague of mine, who is a German who lived in Nigeria for many years, was asking me, which Lagos is this one talking about? The Lagos that has no potable water, has no road, has no sewage system, has nothing. Is it the Lagos this man is boasting that he built Lagos to a standard? Anyway, I don't have much question, but what I'm trying to say that, please, Dr. Salako, you are an opinion molder, and I think you can speak what they can understand. Dr. Rudolph too. Tell these people to take back this subsidy. Nowhere even in America, everywhere in Europe here, everything has a subsidy on. As long as Nigeria are so poor to be buy everything without subsidy. Thank you from here.
you are very correct, sir. The only difference is that, in Germany, your tax regime. Everybody pay tax. In Nigeria, the tax regime is different. part of what government used to run. That is why I believe that our government size is too big. Our government size is too big. So, as I always say, we need to have an holistic discussion around our country. When we have Senate, 109 people in the Senate, 3 per state. America has 2 senators per state. The cost of governance in Nigeria is too much. And that is why the idea of regional government is better. So when they remove subsidy, I believe that, because they said that part of the money they get from subsidy is what they are using for some of their infrastructural development they are doing all around, which, to be honest, they are not doing any public procurement. They are not doing competitive bidding for. But the issue around subsidy, as I have said earlier on, is more of corruption than the actual subsidy itself. And that is where I have problem with President Tinubu. He ought to sort out the issue around corruption. I mentioned earlier on, Farouk Lawan, Honorable Farouk Lawan was going into the corruption in the subsidy, and Otedola's company, Otedola, they tried to bribe Farouk Lawan and they turned it into a case against him, a scandal. Farouk Lawan went to prison. Zeno, nobody, and the case died there. The investigation into the subsidy died. That is the problem. The problem itself is not the subsidy, because all over the world, there are subsidies. Look, the Germany example you gave, Germany is not even a big oil producing or energy producing country. You depend mostly on Russia. So you have to still subsidize. Now, in Nigeria, we produce this thing ourselves, and we are still paying premium. That doesn't make sense. So the problem is the corruption in the subsidy, whereby some importer will not make any imports and they will collect subsidy. And that was what Madam Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala was doing during Jonathan's regime. Okay? So, but President Tinubu came in and he threw away the bathwater with the baby. And that is why Nigeria is in deep problem now in terms of purchasing power. Coupled with the fact that he floated the naira also. That's another second reform. So he did all these two together, and Nigeria is in deep problem.
All right. Thank you, Doc. Let me play this video because you mentioned cost of governance, and I thought about something before we go to it. All right. That's one man moving, one government official, the president. If you go to states, it's almost the same thing when a state governor is going somewhere. And when you talk about cost of governance, I don't care if we have big money and the country is rich and, but I don't think a country like Nigeria where we're struggling. So we didn't get to that. So I wanted to play that when you mentioned cost of governance. Okay, go ahead.
So, Mr. Okpebo want to talk.
Yes, he's the one. He's the next in line. His real name is Ovie, but he wants to answer.
2028. I saw 2028 in his name.
He's campaigning for him to win in 2028.
And I'm using this opportunity to invite our guests to join us to bring Okagulu back to power come 2028.
Where is that?
Edo State.
Okay.
Anyway, good afternoon and thank you for your time. My question will center around generation or class. One would argue that since the 70s, the generation who are in power now, or the class who are in power now, the Obasanjos, the Buharis, even up to Tinubu, have been in power for that long. And arguably, if one look back 100 years from now, we say that they're giving us three things. The
Doctor,
presidential system of
good
government.
night from here. Good night, please. Good night.
All right, good night.
All right, sir. Mazi.
Yes, they gave us the presidential system of governance, they gave us the constitution, and they gave us the political system we have now. So, I mean, one can argue how, if that make the country better or not, but that is their contribution to what we have at this point. Now, to your generation, I'm not generally, not individually, you as a person, you are successful, but generally, you guys are struggling for power now. I'm using the likes of Obi, the likes of Konkozo, and the rest, which are the next fighting to be in charge of Nigeria. Do you guys have any visions at all, or what is the plan if eventually you guys took over power?
I am not a politician.
That's why I say
I'm
your generation, not you in particular.
okay. Well, you know, I don't have authority to talk on behalf of my generation.
But
That's
you're opinion molder, so I mean,
well. The truth of the matter is that even in my generation, we have different opinions. Nigeria is a huge country, so there are a lot of tendencies, lot of opinions, lot of interests. What I can say is that for me, I believe for Nigeria to be successful, to move forward quickly, but a lot of countries are leaving us behind in terms of development, in terms of industrialization. Many countries that we got independence together, many of them are better than us today because of several things we have encountered. We encountered first coup, we encountered counter coup, we encountered civil war, long military rule, prolonged military rule, then a short interregnum of the civilian, and then military took over again until 1999 that we now started civil rule, which some people call it civil rule, some people call it democratic rule, whatever you decide to call it. And that has been sustained for at least 26 years now. So even with all the inadequacies, we are still able to talk freely to certain level, except now that Sowore called the president criminal and they are suing Sowore to court. But by and large, we still have freedom more than the time we have military. Things are getting better. So all this discussion we are having, I believe a lot of people in government and in the opposition are listening. Some of them we see saw one or two things that may be beneficial. It's part of the process. So I would not say a generational, there is no way you can say what is one generation want to do. But one thing that really that really concerns me a lot is the fact that our governance is too expensive for a country that want to develop. We really have to find a way to streamline our governance. Today, 36 state governors and 774 local governments, they share 48% of the money. Only one federal government that has been perennially inefficient, perennial failure in electricity, in all sorts of human development indices, they take 52%. All the others share 48%. Now, that 48% share to local government and the state, states do not let the local government get their own. They pocket it at the state level. So when you also interrogate it, many of these state government, they pay salary. And after paying salary, they have little more to spend on development and to share among themselves, among the functionary. The other time, my governor, about 2 years ago or 3 years ago, he bought vehicles for many political godfathers, you know. So all of these things, we have to really look into it appropriately. What kind of country do we want to have? I prefer the 1963 arrangement, regional, 6 regions, 6 regional government. I prefer parliamentary system. But the problem is, how do we get there? It's very difficult, except we are ready, you know, to do it. Except the people rise up themselves that, no, we want parliamentary government and regional government. We don't want state again. Let's have minimum of 6 regional government. Let's reduce the cost of governance so that we can have enough money to take care of developmental projects. You know, that's all I can say about that.
All right. Thank you so much. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we round up and we finish up with some questions for you. One of the questions you mentioned Tunde Bakare, and there's something that it triggered in my mind. We may have opportunity to talk a little bit about religion and Christianity and the impact of those pastors in how we are the way we are. So when we come back, we get to that. You guys may have opportunity to ask extra questions if there are no new people who joined us. So let's take a break. We'll be right back. welcome back. This is our concluding part of our conversation with Dr. Salako, who is joining us from Houston. He's a consultant, energy specialist, and also specialist in enhanced oil recovery. I like that term, and the capturing of carbon. All right. So I said, oh, Janaba is here. So let me give Janaba the chance to ask you a question or make a comment before we go to some other things that you triggered in your comments. Janaba, go ahead.
I would love him to talk about the issue that you're trying to ask him, especially about Tunde Bakare. So let him go. I'll come back later.
All right. So let me play this video for you, and then get your reaction at the other end of it. This is Tunde Bakare speaking a while ago. He was talking about what God told him, and I wanted to know what you think about that.
I'm saying it to you this morning. In the scheme of things, as far as politics of Nigeria is concerned, President Muhammadu Buhari is number 15, and yours sincerely am number 16.
All right. So what he implied there was that Buhari was number 15th president of Nigeria, and that's what God told him, he will be number 16. I don't know how this is different from Indaboski and what Indaboski says. So can you help us understand the difference between what Tunde Bakare was saying there?
So I see Pastor Tunde Bakare. Pastor Tunde Bakare is a mentor. I like him for his speaking truth to power. I like him because he's very passionate about a better Nigeria. He has given several State of the Nation addresses. He also partook in several civic protests. You know, I don't know what I want to say about what God told him. It's between him and God. Okay? So I can tell you right now that God tells me I will be the next president of Nigeria. You know, and God has several ways of doing things. As a Christian, I know that even God can change his mind. When God told a prophet, I think prophet Isaiah or so, to go tell a king that king will die. The king, you know, said no. You know, I have been forthright with you. I will not die. Then God told Isaiah back, you know, that he extended the life of that king. You know, several things. Even Jonah, when he went to Nineveh and, you know, he gave the prophecy about Nineveh and the people there, they fasted. Even their animal fasted. God changed his mind. So I will not be concerned about that, what God told him and what he did not tell him. It's between me and his God. So that's all I have to say about that. But on a personal quality, as a person, you know, based on the personal quality of forthrightness, speaking truth to power, you know, thinking through Nigerian problem and providing State of the Nation addresses and all that. That is why I decided to align with him, you know, when he was running, when he said he wanted to become president.
Right. Thank you so much. Not to pick on this issue, why it's important sometimes for us to actually know what we're hearing from these people is because people believe them. A lot of people believe them. Not in this case. In many cases, they tell them what to do and they follow that, and it has impact on our society. You just said that the animals fasted. I don't know the story, but how did they know that the animals were fasting? Because
it's in the scripture. They didn't give their animal food.
That's what you should say, not that the animals fasted. It shocked me when you said that. I'm like, am I?
Give the animal food. Nobody hurt. Because God said he will destroy Nineveh. They said no. They prayed and fasted, and to the extent that they didn't even give their animal food. So, and God listened to them and turned their situation around. So God has changed his mind several times. I'm not saying maybe, I'm just telling you what I understand about God saying something and our action changing it. Maybe because when you listen to Pastor Bakari in that when on the night of APC primaries, he said, all of you, most of you are supposed to be in jail. Do you remember that? That he mentioned that in that primary, that all of you who are collecting money, who are stepping down, all of you are stepping down, who are doing all of you who are supposed to be in jail. I am not stepping down for anybody, I'm stepping up. If you remember, he said that. So a lot of things can change things. The system that we use, many people in our country who have very good opportunity of a better future. Also, because of the system, their future, what God has ordained for them is not materializing. When we are talking spiritually now, we are talking religiously now. So a lot of things that God has in stock for us, our environment can even change it.
So, we started this conversation with Gaza, what's going on in Gaza, and the reason why people, especially Africans, Nigerians, were leaning towards Israel. There are people in Israel today who are looking at what's going on in Gaza, and they are saying that Netanyahu is doing what God wants, because in the Old Testament, they were kings, they were prophets, people who did exactly what Netanyahu is doing, which is going there, wipe out people because God wants. So how do we justify what Netanyahu is doing? Because God, if he says that God told him, and maybe he didn't hear God say change.
Netanyahu did not say God told him what.
No. People are saying, there are Israelis, people who are saying that he's doing what God. Even
Netanyahu didn't say that.
No, but in America here, in America here, Trump said, and people who support Trump, they said things like, you mentioned it too, that when you fight for Israel, God will bless you.
Yeah. So no. We should seek the peace of Israel. That's what the Bible says. We should speak.
Yeah, but they say that to get peace, you have to destroy enemies.
Yeah, well, seeking the peace of Israel also involves ensuring that the fight ends, because Israel itself is not in peace now. To be honest, their fighting does not give them peace. Also, so seeking the peace also involves ensuring that the fight between Israel and Palestine ends.
Do you think that Trump is doing that by supplying arms to Israel, going to the United Nations? He's blocking the Palestinians from coming to America. He's blocking all the, vetoing the votes at the United Nations. Is that helping Israel to seek peace?
So I think that is American international diplomacy or international interest, foreign affairs interest. They said they have Israel is one of the American ally. So a country every country has an ally, and they have allies. Let me say allies. So and they find a way of protecting their interests. Maybe it is in the interest of the United States, to support Israel. You cannot determine what a country decide to do.
I know, Doc. I know. The only issue I have is that someone like your Senator Ted Cruz is going to the Bible to justify what they are doing,
which is wrong.
All
People have told it to. I mean, the person who interviewed him is also a Christian. He's a right winger too. I've forgotten his name now.
Tucker Carlson.
Tucker Carlson is also a Christian, a right wing Christian. And he doesn't like the way Ted Cruz put it. All of us know. In fact, Ted Cruz does not even know where it is in the Bible, what he said. But I know that we are asked to seek the peace of Israel. That one is in the Bible, you know.
Right.
But seeking the peace of interest of Israel also involves making sure that the two sides involved can settle amicably. But the problem in the Middle East goes far beyond what we, maybe it's probably go far into the Abrahamic, period. These are the same, cousins or brothers fighting themselves over a small land that is not even up to some states in Nigeria, for instance. It's so terrible.
All right. Let's give chance to people who are here to weigh in before we round up. Jonaba is a pastor based out of Texas. Yeah, Texas. So Jonaba, welcome to the show.
Thank you already once again. Thank you, Dr. Salako.
Yes.
It's nice to see you. Watch the listing from the very beginning, and I don't want to dabble into religions with you. I think you handle it well. So we will see when Jesus comes.
Yes.
Okay, so let's leave religion. And your deep knowledge, I'm just trying to say that you are one of the kind that we can say Nigerian can become anything, anywhere, apart from the religious prophecy of Tunde Bakare and your mentor. So, so you are so proud of your deep knowledge on your field. But one thing I want to ask, when Dr. Rudy asks you or comment on so recalling the president a criminal, and you say in your own opinion the governor are more criminal than the president. How do you now say that the president, in your own opinion, have a duty to hold the governor accountable, or how do we try to fix this, especially when under this presidency it has been ordered that the local government should be receiving their own money directly to the local government account, but the governors block it. So in between all of those things, what do you think would be your own suggestion how to reduce this so that the government can be reduced, the size of the government and imposing that the thing can reach ordinary people, the governance?
So we have a very big problem in Nigeria in that area. We practice federalism. Our federalism is kind of a unique one. When we copy things, we copy it poorly. American federalism, every state in America has their own constitution. You have county, you have city. They are under states. They are mostly creation of states. And, of course, since every state have their constitution, there are slight differences between one state and another. The way they even do their fiscal system is different from our own. In our own, federal government, we have the money, some money. They have federal FAC and they share. So the problem is the governors, they decided not to obey the Supreme Court based on the principle of federalism. I am one of the people that said that judgment by the Supreme Court further bastardized our federal system instead of correcting the federal system. But the Supreme Court, what they did is to obey the 1999 Constitution. They are not trying to correct anomaly in the Constitution. They are upholding what is in the Constitution. Unfortunately, the governor decided not to obey it. In fact, Anambra State went further to go and enact law against the Supreme Court judgment to perpetually make local government subdue under the state government and put their revenue, their allocation, federal allocation, directly under the state government. That is what Anambra also did. Others, and when you look at all those local governments, the leaders there are unpicked by governors. Some governor, even when they are leaving after second term, they will now conduct kangaroo elections to put their own people there and set a trap for the incoming governor. That is what is happening in Osun State. When Oyetola was leaving, he conducted an election. All his people won everywhere in Osun. You know, Debola came in, sacked all of them, you know, and there are so many chaos, a lot of cases in court. So, you know, as a people, we really have to think through. Do we really want to have a society that functions? Do we want to obey law? What do we really want? So the president cannot do anything because he's also looking for second term. And he needs the support of these governors. Okay? Apart from that, there is no law the president can use to make the governors to obey the Supreme Court ruling. It is the citizen that have to rise up and say enough is enough. Because these people are just 36 of them. They're just 36 of them. So, and if we want to have a better system, it has to come from the citizen if the leaders are not doing anything. That's what I have to say about that. I hope that answers your questions.
Yes.
And you can't say yes for me now. Rudy. Of course.
I was looking for trouble. I knew.
We are not many here, but I like Chim. But what you're trying to say is that they are not just 36. There are 36 people with the police and the army on their side. So they are not just 36. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Janaba. Let's go to Chim. Chim, you're next.
Good day, Rudolph, and pleased to make your acquaintance, Dr. Olarinre Salako.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So I just want to talk about subsidy. Somehow, the current government and preceding governments in Nigeria have successfully made the concept of subsidy look like it's one horrible thing. You know, even the average Nigerian shouts, remove subsidy, without even understanding what they're saying. The other thing I want to say is, before I come to exactly what my question is in all of that debate, the concept of subsidy has just been, pegged to petroleum and petroleum services only. People forget that the word subsidy simply means that the government is helping reduce or cushioning the cost of something in whatever sector they choose to do that. It can be subsidy in health, which makes it easy for you to go to the hospital and receive free medical care. It can be subsidy in the petroleum, which Nigerians at some point really did enjoy because we had it. Saudi Arabia has enjoyed subsidy for however long and all that. And all
they are still enjoying it.
And all the other OPEC countries you've mentioned earlier. So my question is this, please, just help me, please, because you seem to know quite a bit, despite being in diaspora. Is there any subsidy Nigerians are enjoying?
Is there any subsidy Nigerians enjoy?
Yes, right now.
Currently? Oh, of course. The electricity band B, C, D, E are subsidized. But unfortunately, you hardly have 4 hours or 2 hours of electricity in a day. So they subsidize it, that little amount of time that you have it. The band A, I think they remove subsidy on band A, and I think people are paying about 225 or so, if I can remember appropriately. But the other band, some are paying 63, 80, or even less. But those ones, they only give them electricity for maybe 2 to 4 hours a day. The other ones, the band A, they can get electricity up to 20 hours, according to what we see on paper. And some people have confirmed that they actually get electricity up to 20 hours a day. And some have decided that, okay, if we have electricity for 20 hours, I would rather manage the way I use it so that I don't incur a lot of cost. So that is also something good in that respect. There are, I think even by and large, sometimes they subsidize other things too. But the problem we have is that some people who supply some of these things, like the electricity, for instance, we have installed capacity of 15,000 megawatts. We only see about 4,000 to 5,000 megawatts supplied into people, distributed to people. And we have 15,000 megawatt capacity to distribute, to use. So the generating company are not generating the electricity to the full capacity of their installation. And that is where I am actually very concerned. And a lot of Nigerians are not paying attention to it. Government said 4 trillion naira is being held as a debt to Genco and Disco. And 1.9 million of it, and 1.9 trillion was only for year 2024. I am wondering how they come about that money with all the grid collapse that we hear about, with all the maybe 4-hour supply of electricity that we all hear about. So people have to ask questions for this government to be transparent, But to answer your question, there are still some 1 or 2 things they subsidize here and there, but which many Nigerians don't even know how much government is paying for them.
Thank you so much, Jim. Let's go to, I promised Maska that I'll give him a second chance. Maska, go ahead. Then I'll come to you, Odi and Kija.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rudolph. Doctor, honestly, I'm very happy I joined this stream. Now, my second batch question is to tap your brain or your understanding or your experience within the energy sector in Nigeria. I can see that you know much more than even me that is living here in Nigeria. Now, when Obasanjo implemented, what do they call this, GSM, it eradicated the problem completely. Okay. Issue of nitel telephone. Look, if you don't have enough money to buy a phone or to buy data or credit today, you are not in any way holding anybody. People who have money to buy data or buy airtime and use, bottom line, telephone is fine in Nigeria. But how is it that I knew Goodluck Jonathan wanted to do something like that in the energy sector, at least specifically electricity? What is the problem? Why did we get it wrong? What were we supposed to have done that was not done, that we are still in this quagmire?
So the problem is this. So GSM is a different ballgame. Telecommunication is different from electricity. So electricity, you generate it in one place and you transmit it all over. and then distribute it into the house.
With
Step
due
down.
respect, doctor, with
So,
due
so
respect.
let hold on. Jonathan tried something. What Jonathan tried, privatization that Jonathan tried, is generation and distribution. Government was still the one taking care of transmission. And that is where we got it wrong.
Okay.
That is the problem. Because, transmission, government will buy from private entity. All of our generating, power generating companies were sold to private sector, but government still has some shares in them, really. And that is what I said about refinery. But they are privatized, but government still buy from Denko to put on the transmission line, and government sell to Disco to distribute to customers. And in the process, corruption will set in, inefficiency will set in, mismanagement will set in. That is the problem. Sabotage also set in. So those are the problems.
What would you recommend now if today I'm the president of the country, given your understanding of the energy sector, electricity, what would you tell me as a person that at least like 2-3 steps that I should take, hopefully that this issue of electricity will go away?
Well, we need to look into the transmission also. To number one, we need to government need to give private sector to operate the transmission system, but still hold substantial share in the transmission as well. That's number one. Number two, we need to do a lot of off-grid generations, such that, maybe one company can generate, transmit, and distribute with smart meter. So one company will look at a part of the city and say, okay, these people, I will give them electricity, maybe 10 megawatts, and I will be the one that will also distribute it to them. I will give them smart meter. I will collect my money. And that is possible now because of renewable energy. That is very possible with solar. And I think they are doing that already. But the attention is not enough in that area. And I think that also started during Jonathan with Professor Bat Energy. He started something like that, especially with ABBA independent power projects. But we need to pay more attention into that and do a lot of that. And the Electricity Act of 2023 encourages that as well.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Doctor.
Rudolph, I would like to say something on this, but I will wait until Odi and Okija have finished, please. I will respect that. But there's something I need to bring up, yes.
All right, thank you. Odi, welcome to the show.
Hello.
Yeah, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Hello, Doc, and every other fellow panelists and people on the comment section. Well, I think I've been listening for a little bit of time, and I think you do have deep knowledge about Nigeria. But I don't know, as I continue to listen, I just felt there was kind of a whitewashing of the government, and that kind of rubbed me off the wrong way. And what I've maintained is that only truth can set us free. And understand that people are giving you accolades, but still, it's good to. It feels good to provide, solution on paper to problems, but I don't think that has. Many people have very good ideas, like you, Doc. I'm sure you know that, and they put it out every day. But we are not moving anywhere because sometimes, I tell you, there was a few questions that were thrown your way, and I felt that the way you kind of answered them was more of kind of just let them off the hook. I'll tell you, one of the questions that was thrown your way was about Tunde Bakare, And then you brought up one Bible passage to kind of let him off the hook. The truth is that we have to say truth to power. He goofed, and everybody has whatever they believe. The man was very emphatic in many things he said. And Dr. Rudolph kind of just tried to bring one of our famous comedians, what's his name? Indaboski. And you kind of try to make Indaboski, Tunde Bakare, an intellectual, and then, they are all comedians, that's what it is. And because if you look at what he said, he should be embarrassed, if as a pastor, he should have resigned, but you let him off the hook. You talked about how he's been talking about broadcast, and the man paid 100 million naira for primaries APC. He got no votes, zero. And people really should. I've listened to the man. He talks from both sides of his mouth. But I'll just leave that aside. I know you respect him, and I don't want to. But we have a president. Someone asked you a question about the governor's corruption and all that. And I kind of, when you said the president cannot do anything about it because you gave reason, you said he's seeking for second term. So, but so if we continue that way, the governors are seeking for second term also. They have to get the money from the local government. So do we let the president off the hook? And then, so who's going to govern? At what point does governance start in Nigeria? And this comes to the question that was asked you about your generation and the failure of leadership. And what you said is that you're not a politician. The problem is, when do we start setting the standard and telling the next generation, well, whoever knows what that means now in Nigeria, because we're just generation and generation that are failing and failing, and because the country is getting worse since I've known the country. So, and because what we said is, well, you passed on that also. And then I think, because let's go back to the president, because the truth is that Nigerian president is a very powerful president. I disagree with you 100% when you said the president cannot do anything. Even if a president is seeking election, this is a president, and what is that is turning Nigeria into a one-party state. And we know that. It's not like you say, oh, the opposition has responsibility. Well, the president actually actively is stifling the opposition, right? This is a president who, because of some not even serious quarrel, decided to pass a state of emergency in a state, one of the most powerful states in Nigeria, and they suspended a governor for 6 months. And this is a president who has the judiciary in his pocket. And we can't, and when you say he's not powerful, he cannot do anything, this is a corruption, this is a government that is filled with corruption. We have to call it out. The first guy that asked you, what's your mission here? Have you come to maybe prepare yourself as a cashist or some like the other guys? I'm kind of confused. I'm trying to go back to, because I'm trying to understand the purpose of what we are doing here.
Let me answer you.
No, let me land. Okay, go ahead.
Let me respond to you. Yeah. So I am not here to speak for government. I am not here to speak to antagonize government. I am here to speak the way I see things. When I said, so about Tunde Bakare, he's an individual like us. He's not in government. So let's focus on president and the governors, as you said. I call the governors criminals. In fact, October 1, I'm going to release another article about governors. I call them criminals because they disobey the ruling of the Supreme Court. Now, I said the president may not be able to do anything, cannot do anything, because I'm thinking in terms of the way. So when you think of counterfactual, the president, how do you think is thinking in his head? he needed the support of most of these governors for second term. So you should not expect anything from him. That's what I'm saying. I'm not defending him. I'm not defending the president. I'm saying that you shouldn't expect the president to do anything about it, because he needed the governors for second term. 2, even in America, there is a limit that the president can do. You see, even in America, when Trump is trying to deploy the
National Guard,
you see how some governors are trying to rise against it. You know, that is the nature of true federalism. You don't just usurp the power of another organ or another unit of the federation. Now, those governors, they have what we call immunity. That is why they are misbehaving. They are disobeying the ruling of the Supreme Court. And if you also look at the counterfactual again, I don't like the ruling of the Supreme Court that gave local government as a third tier of government. Because in true federalism, we only have states as the federating unit. We shouldn't have 777 local governments in our constitution, for instance. But the Supreme Court said, okay, that is the law. We already have the 774 local governments in our constitution, and there is a law, constitution, that said they should have their own allocation. So, and they gave the ruling based on the law. If the governors want to do something better, they should have sponsored something to the National Assembly to remove the 774 local governments from the Constitution of Nigeria. And that is why I call them that they are more of criminal than the president in this case. You know, now, I am not here to whitewash president or something. I do not like the way he declared the emergency in Rivers and removed the governor. Jonathan also declared emergency in some northern states when he was the president. He did not remove the governor. So what the president is doing concerning turning the country to one-party state, even this Pastor Bakare that you are talking about has gone to him to warn him, and he said it openly, that he went to the president to warn him not to play God. All this allegation about him wanting to turn Nigeria to one-party state, he should stop it. And he said he's not doing it. So I think we need to be measured in our approach to handling the government, and we need to be balanced in our view. That's what I want to say.
All right, thank you. Odi, thank you. If we get a chance, I don't think we do, but maybe in after show you can.
Well, he cut me off. I didn't finish my questions, but it's true. Everybody gets time, because the truth is, like, I feel like everybody has been singing his name. Like, I'm kind of trying to push back, and I think when people try to push back, usually give them the opportunity, because it becomes more interactive.
Let's hear you more.
I was here before Odi, but I just let it pass.
Okay, Odi, hold on. Okay, we have like 4 more minutes. If we can get Okija in and get him, Odi, you may be the final person. All right, Okija, go ahead.
Yeah, just like Odi, I wanted to talk about Pastor Bakare. Don't you, Dr. Salako, welcome to the show, Professor Okonkwo, thank you for hosting. Don't you think that, tradition and religion, that these, they are our problems, you look at, this man in the church, like the, purveyor, like hope sellers like Bakare, telling people, that God told him. And 2 years after, after that, some people like you still believe in him, and some people are still going to that church. And you have to find a way to rationalize what he said. And for you, the argument is that Hezekiah in the Bible, that a prophet went to him and told him that he should get his house ready, that he would not survive the sickness, and that God, then we prayed. God gave you 15 years. And you are basing this on that book written. I mean, something somebody said, and somebody said, and over the years, over maybe about 300 people before it was written, as a story. And then you believe it, and you are telling me, and the God, remember, God is omniscient, omnipresent, omnipotent. He has all power. So when Hezekiah was sick, God knew Hezekiah was sick. God knew already that Isaiah was going to go to that. He was going to send Isaiah to Hezekiah. And God knew also that Hezekiah will answer. And God knew also that he will make, he God that will change his mind. I mean, who are you talking about? Is it that this man called God is playing some, Russian roulette with people? Because he knew all these things, going to happen. So why not, just, decide, okay, let me give you 15 years without involving Isaiah, without even today say that that today Okija will be talking about it. I mean, what sense does it make? We are talking about it today. For over some, God knew that he could have done if he has. I mean, this is where you are basing your belief that this is that we should respect Professor. Dr. What's his name? Bakari, because it's happening as a guy. God, bro, this is our problem. This, we should, stop telling Nigerians to stop listening to people. These men, you go to China now, people are just, doing, trying to invent things. Look at Spain, look at, France, look at all these, Catholic nations. See how, where they are. See America, Protestant, liberal. See, Germany, see the England, liberal. You see, because this religious mentality, it brings people down. Look at, China, look at Japan, look at Korea. We are just, our kids, we are learning Bible, how to, I did it. I was raised in Anglican church, carrying Bible. So sometimes, I look at it, I'm like, why did I do all these things? Carrying the Bible, where children in Russia, in China, they are learning to build things. Come on, tell me, in this age of technology, this, Facebook, whatever technology, Oracle, which one of them was invented, founded by a Christian, a right-wing Christian? A right-wing. I'm not talking about somebody who believes, somebody like Peter Thiel. He's not, he's not religious right-wing. He's just, right-wing, some, conservative. So tell me, we should just start telling people, stop going to church, stop listening to these people. Spend that time to, think, come up with something you can do for yourself. I don't know. So that's that's the only reason why I came here, to talk to you about it.
Well, Mr. Okija, thank you. I appreciate your comment. Well, I made mention of Pastor Bakari in the passing. I never knew it to be a main topic, and the only thing I want to say about that is, and as I said before, whatever anybody say about God is between him and God. What we see, based on what Okija is saying now, physical thing we see is what we believe, isn't it? But the issue of faith goes beyond physical thing that we see. The issue of faith is personal, okay? And that is why I don't want to dwell too much on the issue of, it's not in government now. So if we are talking about Tinubu, let's talk about Tinubu. He's the president. And let's talk about 36 governors in our various states. So let's leave Bakari to whatever he said about him and God. Whether it did not come and it did not come to pass, let's leave him to his God. Okay? So our focus is on issues that bordered on Nigerians. That is the most important thing. That's what I have to say about that.
All right, thank you so much. If we have time, I will actually weigh in on that too, because there's something. But let's go to Chim. I think Chim. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity again. So, what triggered me is the question Masker asked about what went wrong with the energy
Electricity privatization.
privatization. Thank you very much. Given the fact that the telecom one was a very successful thing, I've been part of the telecom industry, so I know a little bit of what was going on. Now, number one is this: we have a total breakdown of telecom services, and it was fully privatized. At least there was a measure of sincerity in what was done. Government admitted we're not going to hand over this thing to Nitel to do. We don't want Mobitel or whatever they called Nitels. We're just going to go and source fresh people, open a tender, let people bid for licenses, get it, come and build infrastructure and offer services, which shouldn't have been different when it comes to the energy sector. But you said it somehow. You just that you skipped it. You said there was, you used the word there was sabotage. That's the way I was going. That's the main reason why the energy sector in Nigeria failed. Please, let's call a spade a spade. Jonathan and Bat in Nigeria were doing well. The thing would have worked well. Nigeria would have been happier today. Until Dangote and a couple of, I don't have a problem with Dangote. He's a successful businessman. But when he dabbled into something he shouldn't be dabbling into, he created a problem for us as a society. These guys were not going to get licenses for whatever it is they were seeking. And they went to Jonathan as investors and private businessmen to complain. That is what led to Batin Naji stepping down from that road to say, I will not compromise. I'm not going to give this for licenses. We have a moribund sector and we need people with skills. We can't just be giving, because people started looking at the thing from a cash cow perspective. Oh, if this is what happened in telecom, and MTN is killing, let me go and start my own purpose vehicle and get licensed to do these things. And the man said, no, none of you has any expertise in this thing. Manitoba, if you remember, there was a company called Manitoba.
Manitoba Hydro.
Thank you. That is here in Canada. Was one of the people giving this thing. They pulled back when stuff started happening and withdrew. And then we went back to where we're coming from, which is what we're suffering today. So I think sometimes when we're doing some of this analysis and reviewing these things, let's just say when those big Nigerian businessmen started wanting to go and get licenses, seeing it the way they were seeing what MTN was doing, oh, MTN came from nowhere, today look at what they are doing. Let's too go and create our own vehicles and come and get these licenses. As soon as that started happening, our energy went backwards to even further than where that's one. Then two is this. We often forget that if the government had properly diversified our energy sourcing process, Nigeria won't be in the situation where for a long time, it was only Kainji that we were all depending on. Collecting, oil from power from water. And a lot of politicians and people were playing ethnicity with some of these things. They didn't allow us to develop the gas properly or source other avenues of power generation. Today, Nigeria is suffering it. And as a result, people didn't maintain NEPA infrastructure and all those things. Like you said something here. There are many countries where, in Canada here, a lot of the energy infrastructure is owned by government. It's not privatization, let's be honest. I live in Canada here. NMAX is owned by the city of Calgary. NMAX, nobody, even if you think NMAX cost is too high and you want to switch to any other one, you are still tied to NMAX somehow because NMAX is they own the process for transmitting that thing. So you will still pay them money. If I move my dustbin and everything away to anyone else, NMAX is still responsible for collecting my water or giving me water. So I can't run away from them. I just think that when it comes to the concept of privatization, like you said, there's something about Nigeria that things succeed elsewhere. But when it comes to us, it fails. And the basic reason why those things fail is vested interest. People don't let these things succeed the way they should go. If we do things the way the ABCs of how things should be done, we shouldn't have any problem in Nigeria with electricity or petroleum services or whatever. All this thing is just because people have silly interests and people's personal interests is overriding national interest and people's serving the public. That's all. So I wanted to bring that up.
That's correct. That's
correct. Around it and moved away.
Well, that's very correct. Even the disco people that Jonathan gave license to, many of them don't have the capability right now. They are not able to provide smart meters to people. They are having problem with the collection of tariff. They are owing federal government that sold the grid electricity to them. So government is also owing Genco that sold the electricity, that evacuated the electricity to the transmission for government. So, and a lot of things are shady that we really need to ask questions. I am really particular about the 4 trillion naira they want to pay to Genco and Disco. And the fact that National Assembly said Disco is owing government 2.6 trillion naira also. So all of this, somebody need to look into it. And it doesn't take much time to look into it if we are sincere. Within 2 weeks, we can look into how much do we really owe. Nigerian bulk electricity trading company, an agency of the federal government in the Ministry of Power, said it is 1.8 trillion naira that government is owing. But the Minister of Power said it is 4.4 trillion naira. We don't know which is which. So these are the problem. Okay, these are the problem. So the truth of the matter is, you cannot compare apple to apple. Privatization of the telecommunication is a lot easier than privatization of electricity. Let's just, that is difficult because we have a transmission line. Okay, we have a transmission system, and that also require national security issue as well. I hope you know that enemies of a country can attack your power line, transmission system too. So all those things, national security is also involved in it.
Okay, sorry, Chief. Mr. Rudolph, please, I just want to make a simple point to Doctor.
Okay.
I don't understand national security when the country is in darkness. How is there national security? How?
Okay.
Thank you. And I was going to say to join Master.
The worst that anybody can do is to put us in darkness, and we are in darkness. So how is it a national security?
I like that.
And Master, to support you a little bit, when David Mark said that, how was that popular statement he made to justify why we shouldn't have
people.
But today, haven't the telecoms proven that thing to be wrong? So I don't understand this whole thing we keep saying. It's vested interest is a problem that is holding Nigeria down. Vested interest.
I hope that we can do a lot of off-grid with the Electricity Act of 2023. That is actually the most appropriate way to solve the problem. And what I am advocating for is actually for federal government to redirect the savings from fuel subsidy into the electricity, provide low interest, long-term loan, maybe 2% interest for 30 years, provide it to people who are big farmers, people who want to do agro-processing, who want to do small-scale industry, have a lot of agro-island and industrial corridor, and they can build maybe 10 megawatts of electricity for their members in a location, and then, break even. We can reduce electricity tariff to maybe 100 naira to 150 naira or thereabout, possibly, if we do that. And that will reduce the problem with Genco and Disco until they sort themselves out. It will relieve the national grid as well. And a lot of things, job will be created and things will be getting better gradually.
All right, we've spent more than 3 hours. We have to round up.
Yes.
Audi, I will let you want to finish? If you don't, there's a video I want to play, and that will be the final, and then we let our guest round up his thoughts.
Yeah, I think everybody is very clear what my question line was going. I'm not gonna really go back there again. So just play your video. It was nice talking to you, Doc.
All right, thank you. Doc, I'll play this video and get you a comment, and that will be how we end the show.
This gospel, this same gospel, transformed Europe and America so dramatically that ancient Asian civilizations, who of course were well advanced, they were far ahead of European civilization at the time. Ancient civilizations such as Japan were amazed at how formerly barbarian civilizations, such as the Europeans, could in a few short years have outstripped their own then more advanced civilizations. And they had to send some of their best minds to find out why. And we'll come back to that momentarily. Let's look at how the gospel transformed Europe and America, and later Asia, beginning with Japan. This pervasive influence of the gospel started with the Protestant Reformation in Europe, beginning in the 15th century. But it was the Puritans, and when I say the Puritans, I refer to a group of people who are described sometimes as the inheritors of the Reformation, whose teaching in Britain and later in Europe and then in America with the Pilgrim Fathers, inspired predominantly by the teachings of John Calvin, who was talking of the authority of Scripture, of disciplined Christian life, and the strong moral duty of the church in reforming society that was largely responsible for the transformation of the institutions of democracy as well as the institutions of the marketplace. So first, we must acknowledge that it was the message preached on the pulpits that transformed lives and then societies. The message preached on the pulpits in those countries, in those nations of the world, that first transformed the lives of those who were Christians then, and then their societies. As Scripture says in Romans 10 verse 17, so then faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. It is the preachers of the gospel that hold the key to the transformative experience of the gospel. If the gospel is preached correctly, it will create renewed, regenerated men and women. And what is preached can be so powerful, whatever is preached, whether it is good or bad, can be so powerful that the Bible warns, take heed what you hear. Mark 4 verse 24. Because what you hear determines how you think and who you become. Scripture says, as a man thinketh, so he is. Proverbs 23 verse 7. What did the preachers of that era preach? What were they preaching? What were the principles that they preached? And I'll do a very quick list of the principles that they preached. They preached the principles of hard work and productivity as the basis of wealth. Hard work and productivity as the basis of wealth. Education, taking care of the poor and vulnerable. High moral values, including integrity, trustworthiness, respect for credit and obligation, etc. Let's look at some of those in a bit of detail. So on the principles, God ended his work, which he had done.
Thank you, Professor Sibajo. Most of you have seen this, and I think most people saw that video went viral for whatever reason. I want to get your view, Doctor, on what the former Vice President was talking about there.
So the former Vice President is a pastor and a professor, and of course a politician as well. What he said was very germane and it's true. America and Europe have Christianity as their foundation of development. It's unfortunate Mr. Okija is no longer here, because most of what we see, in fact, the common law that we practice in Nigeria, which emanated from the UK, as a foundation in the scripture, in the Bible. Okay? So, and that is very correct. And he mentioned things that are very germane, that the only way to true wealth is work. You know, not stealing. True wealth does not come through stealing. You know, and then it is important, education is important, and helping the poor is important, raising the poor out of poverty. So, and the moral value of the society. Our society in Nigeria today, everything is all about money, even family members. We talk about politicians, how about family members? Most of us living overseas, probably, you know, if you take statistics, survey of people, you will find out that many people have even fallen victim of family members and swindling them of their money, asking family member to do something for you, and they run away with the money because the society is so degenerated. So what Pastor Osibajo was saying is very, very important, and that is why it went viral. And you will see that the picture of people behind him are Christian pastors.
I didn't see Bakare there.
Well, I don't know why Bakare is not there, but you saw Christian pastors like Adeboye, Oyakilome, and the rest of them behind him. So those are the people he's talking to, you know, which is okay. Maybe they will take the teaching and run away and run with it, because he's a professor. He's not just a pastor, he's a professor. So maybe they will accept the teaching and help our society with it. That's all I have to say. And I have a message for President Tinubu, you know, in the rounding up, that President Tinubu and his team, in particular, the Minister of Agriculture, should find a way to work with other relevant ministry to end or reduce drastically 40% waste of our food, our harvest. 40% of our harvest get rotting before they get to the market. That is equivalent of $9 billion, according to the World Bank. They should find a way of reducing that. That will help reduce food insecurity in the country. Okay, that is number one. Number two, I want to ask the president to redirect at least maybe 70% of the savings from the fuel subsidy that was removed to electricity, to setting up agro-allied industrial clusters and resuscitating the old ones and empowering cooperative organization of people who will use the electricity to take low-interest, long-term loan to run independent power projects for these agricultural industrial corridors. That will lift people, a lot of people, away from poverty, especially in the rural area. Number three, I want to appeal to the president, use this opportunity to appeal to him, that the Tax Reform Act that he signed to law did not pay attention to the national identity number for individual tax. They should incorporate that. Not only that, they should raise the threshold of people who will remit, who have tax to pay, to individual to maybe 5 million naira per annum, so that people who are earning less than 5 million naira per annum don't have to pay tax. They can use the money to help themselves. And those earning more than 5 million naira can pay appropriate tax. That's all I have to say to the president. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Salako, for being with us for over 3 hours. We really appreciate your time. I want to thank all those who joined us on the comments section, those who are in the studio. Jonaba, thank you so much. Maska, thank you so much. Chim, thank you so much. Okija, thank you so much. I want to remind people who are watching that we're going to have the after show where we analyze what happened here, and KJ is ready to host. Those that supported us, Kulata, thank you so much. Oscar Blackstone, the Blackbone, thank you so much. Tima Jack, thank you so much. We appreciate all of you. You are the reason why we continue to do this show, because your support, we're able to take care of our bills. On behalf of everybody behind the scene who helped to make this possible, thank you so much. And next Sunday, we are going to get, Professor, very interesting. Why did I forget to promote that? Next Sunday on 90 Minutes Africa, we are going to get Hawa Ibrahim. She's joining us from Harvard University. He's hosting a very big conference October 3rd at Harvard University. So please, if you can join us, she's a very important lawyer from Nigeria who has been at Harvard for some years. All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Doc. And we appreciate all of you. Until next Saturday, we'll be back with Javier Say 247. And Sunday, of course, we'll bring in the guests that we are going to have. Thank you all. And I will see you.
Thank you.
I'll see you later. Bye-bye.